Hey everyone, my name is Nico now, and I'm going to show you how you can create this type of 3D effect. So this is a double level 3D projection. Basically, this is a simple oblique 3D projection, but you apply the 3D effect on the outside as well as the inside. Since I've been getting some requests on how to use the double level 3D guides of my 3D pack, here's a tutorial on how to create a nice civil project using the 3D guide. Don't worry if you don't have my 3D brush pack. I'm going to put the worksheet in the description. You can download that and follow along this fun lettering tutorial. Let's begin. So we're going to open up a new canvas, and then we're going to type our letter. So since my name is Nico, I'll just use the letter N. And let's choose a thick, bold font so that the levels are going to be visible. I am going to use Avenir next and heavy. Let's just increase the size. Yeah, this looks perfect. If this is your first time creating a 3D effect, I suggest a simple lettering style like this, wherein your letter is only composed of straight lines. Now let's rasterize this. You just pinch these two layers together and then move this to the center. To make it easier, make sure you have magnetics and snapping turned on so you can easily position it to the center. Next is let's bring the opacity down, and on a new layer, we are going to trace the outline of the letter. So if you have any monoweight brush, go ahead and use that. So I'm going to use this wide flat brush. So if you have something similar, feel free to use that. So I'm just going to do this quickly like this so that Procreate is going to convert it into a polyline so we could edit, and then we could just position it properly like that. Just make sure you don't touch anything else that will take you away from this smart shape feature like that. So I'm just moving the anchor points to the corners so that I can create my letter easier like that. Done. Okay. But since the brush that I'm using has or creates like this edge, so I'm just going to use a simple monoweight brush to make sure the edges are all covered like that. Yes. I move my iPad a bit like that. Almost done. I think we have two more. This one, and this one. Perfect. Let's hide the original end layer, and now we have this. Okay, but since the brush I use creates these imperfections, I don't want that. So let me duplicate this layer a few times and merge it all. And then you can see the edges are cleaner now, but we still have those gaps inside. So we're going to use selection on automatic. I'm going to select the outside and the inside, select invert, and color fill there. As you can see, those holes have now been filled there. Now that we have our letter, next is let's create our 3D guide. So on the new layer, let's go to the 3D letter builder pack. And again, if you don't have the 3D letter builder pack, I'm going to place the guide in a PDF where you can download it and import it to Procreate or Photoshop or wherever you are more comfortable drawing. Let's open up our brush pack and then select the upward 3D blocks double level. Let's just change the size like this. Perfect. I always like to center things, so let's go ahead and center that like that. Perfect. So this is the guide. So the guide shows how thick the 3D projection is going to be. And then the point from here to here is going to show how deep the inside layer is going to be. So when we're done with that, let me just bring the opacity down so that it's not too distracting. And I always like to preserve my layers. So I always duplicate the layer before I start to move it around. Okay. If you notice, our guide, it is sloped on one side, right? So we need to distort our letter. So let's bring that out. And then make sure we align the edge like that. And maybe the corner like that. And distort. So make sure the top line will be aligned to the top angle of your guide. Like that. It has to be parallel. Oops. Before we close, make sure we bring it back to center and make sure that nothing gets cut. Perfect. There we have it. So if your guide is this big, it doesn't mean you have to compress your letter to that specific size. This guide basically shows how deep the final letter is going to be, or like the final 3D effect. So now that we're done with this, we can now align our corner to the corner of the guide so that we have some reference. Oh, it's getting cut here. So let me just reduce the size a bit. Oops. Make sure uniform is selected now. Reduce it a bit so it doesn't get cut when we move it here like that. Perfect. Okay. So let me hide this layer again. So in our guide, we have three corners. One, two, and three. We want to duplicate our letter twice and make sure that we position it to these corners right here. So duplicate it twice. Okay, so the first layer is going to be there. The second layer is going to be here. So using transform, if you have magnetics turned on, it's going to lock at the correct angle. So it's going to be super easy like that. And for the last layer, same thing. Let's just move it to the third corner. Perfect. Oh, it's going to get cut. So let's just select everything and move it up a bit and to the left a little bit like that. And then let's move the third layer again to this corner. Perfect. Yeah, I think we can now recenter everything because I just want to center things perfectly like that. Okay. Now, let's just work on the outside 3D projection. So this is quite simple. If you've done 3D projections or 3D layering before, you most likely are familiar with the process. So again, I like to duplicate my layers so that I'm going to preserve the original layers. So I'm going to take the first and the third layer, and I'm going to duplicate that. And one shortcut is to select them and to drag the layers to the center there. Now let's hide everything except for the first and last layer. So like the normal 3D effect, we are going to connect the corners and create our 3D projection. So you could go ahead to do that if you already have your technique on how to do it. But for me, I like to use a brush that I made. Let me just open a new layer first, hide everything, and bring back this guide. So in the 3D letter builder pack, you have these 3D guides brushes. So this is at a 45 angle. So just look for the 45 angle, which is this one. Okay. And what happens here is if you tap the corner, it's automatically going to draw the line. Pretty easy, but the size has to be perfect. So it has to start here and end here, but it goes a little bit over. So let's adjust the size a bit. Now it's at 38. Let's try to bring it at 34. Let's try that. Oh, it's perfect. 34. Let's try 35. If it's, yeah. Yeah, 35 is a little bit over, so let's bring it back to 34. There, perfect. So you want it to have the exact same length like that. Now that we have finished resizing, now that we have finished resizing the 3D guide, so basically we're just gonna tap the corners like that. If you want to be more careful, zoom it in so you can tap it at the right position. Just tap the corners like that. Tap the corner. Make sure you get all of the visible corners. After that, you can bring back your base layer, hide our guide, and we can start filling our 3D projection. So let's first merge the 3D lines and the third layer, the back layer. Merge it like that. Okay. Before we fill it in, we need this space to be clear, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to select the top layer using selection, remove color fill, make sure it's on automatic, and select the inside like that. And then go to layers, switch to the bottom layer, and use our eraser. Make sure the eraser is big. Okay, let me change to a different eraser, a big one, and erase everything on the face like that. Okay, and then when we're done, merge the two layers, and we can now start color filling. There. Easy, right? Okay, now let us create the shadows right there. So let me just make the color brighter. So I went to hue and saturation just to make this into light gray because we're going to add shadows to our 3D effect. So to do that, on the new layer, let us select any drawing pen that you have and oops, and just draw a line like that. Okay, like that, because this part is to be dark. This is supposed to be dark as well, right? So from this corner, we're gonna lock it at 45 degrees. Just select this area, make sure the whole area is selected, color drop. And then these and these, I think these will just remain as is. Now, let's just tap on the layer, turn on clipping mask, like that. There we go. Our 3D effect now has a highlight and a shadow. I think let me just brighten this a little bit more so that it's clearer for you on what you should get. Like this. Two dark blocks at the bottom. Now that we're done with the 3D effect on the outside, let's start working on the 3D effect on the inside. So what we need is let's bring back the first and second layer. Okay, so if you remember, we're using the first and third layer for the outside 3D projection, and for the inside, we're going to use the first and second layer. So what we're going to do next is we're going to get the area inside each shape right there. So let's create a new layer. No, before that, I think it's easier if we just click on selection, automatic, just tap on the inside right here, go to layers, open up a new layer, and then maybe let's choose a different color, maybe orange, and color drop like that. Next is, let's hide these layers. Let's go to the second layer. Let's do the same thing. Selection on automatic, tap the inside, go to layers, add a new layer. Let's maybe change the color and color drop. Okay, we now have the area of the inside of the first and second layer. So if we bring our layers back like this is what you're going to see. But before we add anything else, we want that outline. Okay, let me just show you our reference image. Okay, so we have the 3D effect, blue and dark blue, and white outline. Okay, and then we have purple inside and dark purple there. So We already have the 3D projection. We need to bring out the face. So let's duplicate the first layer, okay, and move it all the way up, show it, and then invert. You have a white colored outline. Okay. I think let's start to color this so that we can slowly see everything come together. Since we have this guide right here, I'll go ahead and just copy the canvas, and at the topmost, let me just paste it really, really small. Okay, so that it's easy for us to grab the colors. For example, let's color the background. So just color pick this, zoom out, and create a new layer at the bottom, and there, color it. Next is the blue. So let me just color pick the blue here, and then color this part blue. And next is color pick this dark blue, and yeah, just drop the colors. So we now have the correct colors for the 3D projection and the outline. Let's start working on the inside. So the orange is a inside first layer. Okay. And the yellow is inside second layer. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring the inside of the first layer up. Make sure clipping mask is turned off there. And then we're going to bring this second one on top of it. Okay, like that. Don't worry if it looks weird because we are simply going to add clipping mask there. You can now see the levels of the inside. However, we need to make some adjustments. First, like earlier when we added the 3D lines or the 3D connecting lines, we have to do it here as well. But the difference is we have to erase instead of add. So make sure the yellow layer is selected, then use selection, freehand. Okay, so corner to corner, corner to corner. Like you can't see the corner here. So this corner is connected. This corner is, and that is not connected. And this is not connected as well. So let's just clean that. So let's tap on the corner, close the selection and erase. Easy. So we now have that correct. And here it has and here the corners have the same shade, but here it doesn't. So let's do the same thing. We're going to erase the yellow part. Oops. Selection. Select the corner and tap on the corner as well. Close it and use eraser. There we have it. Now, let us add the shadows. Like what we did here, we have blue here and then dark blue. We're going to have purple and dark purple. So let's just color pick the purple, and then let's color the orange purple because this is supposed to be purple. And then let's color pick this dark purple and color those shadows. So we're going to add a new layer like that. Use any brush, any monoweight brush. And then we're going to draw a 45-degree line. I'm not sure if you can see the black one. I'm holding my finger to lock it at 45 degrees so that it's going to connect directly like that. And if you notice, I made the line really, really long like that so that I could just do this. Let me just show this layer right here. Okay. You didn't see, but this is what I did. I closed the entire area so that I could just, whoops, color drop like this. So if it covers the entire thing, make sure you just move or slide your pencil until you get the right threshold there. So let's do that here as well. Draw a line, make sure it's 45 degrees or connecting the corners like that, and close it. Color drop like that. Easy, right? And this one, this has to be dark as well. So 45 degrees. Make sure you connect the two corners. There. Easy, right? Now, let's add the inside color right here. So this yellow, we're gonna turn it to another shade of purple. And then we're gonna add some patterns. So for this one, you could add any patterns, any illustrations that you have. But since this image is skewed, you might want to skew your artwork as well. So for me, I'm going to add that wavy pattern, a simple wavy pattern. So I already color picked the color and I'm selecting a new layer. Let me find my brush for that. So if you have the retro lettering pack, it has some patterns that you can use. So here is the thick wavy pattern. Okay. It's up to you what you want to use. So the thin wavy pattern is like this. However, I want it to be thicker and bigger. That's why I'm going to select this option. And what I did here is I adjusted the scale because before it was only at 7%. So if I use it, wait, let me create a clipping mask right here. Oops. No, yeah, clipping mask. As you can see, the pattern is a bit too small for me. You can't see it unless you zoom it in. So I just manually adjusted this brush, selected that. On grain, I just increased the scale to maybe 12% so that when I draw it, the patterns are going to be bigger and more visible. So you now have that. And the next thing we have to do is to mask it. So we want it here. This is the light purple layer. Wait, let me just bring this to pink. So this is a layer that we want to mask the pattern to, right? So let me just bring that back. So what we're going to do is let's select our pattern and use two fingers to hold and press the end layer. So it's going to select that area. Once it's selected, just go back to layers, tap on this pattern layer and click on mask. And turn on the wave like that. Okay. One last thing to do is let's switch on clipping mask. Oh, but before that, I forgot. We need to skew it, right? Because right now it's horizontal. If you notice, it's horizontal, but our edges are diagonal, or like the perspective is diagonal, right? So let's undo everything. Yeah, here. So here it's rectangular, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to use selection on distort. Let's just align this image to that line right there. Zoom it out. Okay, so this is not aligned, right? We need to align it so that we get the right angle. Maybe about here. Perfect. Then let's repeat the same thing, same process that we did. So make sure the pattern is selected and use two fingers to hold the base layer like that and add the mask and add clipping mask. There. Now that's correct. You now have this pattern at the right angle. So yeah. Oh, one more thing. If you want to add shadow, let me just hide this little guide right here. Delete it. Okay. And then maybe use this N right here, the purple N. Let's duplicate that and bring the bottom layer down to the back like that. So we want to add shadow to it. So if we add Gaussian blur, we're not going to be able to see anything, right? So what you can do is hold the checkbox, that. So it's going to isolate all of the layers. Now we have a clear view on the blur, so we could adjust it however we want. I think this is enough. And then if you want to bring everything back, just hold the check again there. Last thing we have to do is to bring the shadows down or bring it out like this. That. But now it's still purple. So hue saturation. Light. turn it black. Okay, I know our background is a bit on the darker side, so the shadow isn't that visible, but it's okay. I mean, it's still visible. It's still a bit visible to me. If you want to make it more intense, just duplicate that, and you'll have a more pronounced, darker shadow. So let's just merge that, and yeah, we're almost done. One simple way to like elevate your work a little bit more is to add textures. Okay, so let us add some textures to this. For our outside 3D, the blues, let me just add a new layer here. Okay, just above the shadow layer, the dark blue. Make sure that's selected. And let's use some textures that we may have. So if you have any greeny texture, feel free to use those and add that here. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. For the retro, on the same retro path, I know you have, I know there is, oh, here is sandy paper texture. So let's just add that. Ooh, interesting. Do you see that? There's before and after. It has that nice sandy look to it. So let's just add a bit more. I'm going to angle this so that we're going to add a little bit more at a different angle. And then let's use this dark blue right here and add a bit more to that. There. You see that? You see the really nice texture? So this is before and after. Looks so much better. Now let's add texture to the inside, or I mean the white outline. So, oh, I think though for the white outline, we don't have to have it clipping masked. We can remove that because it's a standalone layer. So, okay. I think the edges are a bit blurred, so let's try to duplicate that a few times and merge it. Yeah, it's better. It's more pronounced. So let's add texture to this as well. Add a new layer. Turn on clipping mask. Let's select black like that. And let's choose a lighter texture. Maybe this mild gritty texture. Okay, let me zoom it in. This is before and after. You just have these little texture right here. So that's fine. Next is we're going to add texture to the inside. So let's just add a new layer on top of the illustration or like the pattern. Turn on clipping mask and switch back to sandy paper texture because I like that gritty texture. So I'm gonna add black. Another one in black. Let's try to add in white. There. Let me just rotate this a bit. Ooh, that looks nice, right? Looks interesting. So yeah, and then for the background, if you want to add some textures to the background, go ahead and do that. Make sure to add a new layer above the background layer and choose light smudges texture. Okay. Okay, it lightened the background a bit. So maybe I'm going to switch to black and rotate this a bit and apply the same texture to darken it up a little bit more. Yeah, perfect. It looks nice, right? So yeah, there you have it. A double layer 3D effect. You have the 3D projection on the outside and one on the inside as well. If you have these guides, it's going to make the whole process so much easier. You don't have to keep on overthinking or trying to figure out how to correctly do that because the guides are there to make the whole process easier for you. If you want to get the 3D letter builder pack, you can go to my website, nicong.co. That's nicong.co. Then grab my 3D pack and start creating this amazing lettering piece as well as other 3D lettering styles because the guides inside the pack allows you to create a lot of different 3D effects if you want to see some of them. So let's open it up again, 3D Builder. So you have the 3D reference guide. So you just tap on the edge, easy. And then 3D blocks, you have so many different types of arrangement for your 3D letters. You also have 3D fold if you want to make folded letters, or if you want layered path 3Ds, cast shadows, levitating 3D letters, corner peels, spatial guides, and 3D perspective. So you have a bunch of 3D styles to experiment with. So yeah, if you try this, feel free to share your work with me. I'd love to see your version of this fun little 3D project. And if you got the pack and create some 3D layer pieces, I would love to see them. So feel free to tag me. And yeah. Oh, if you have any questions about the 3D layer process or the 3D pack, feel free to comment them below. So yeah, I hope you like this simple and easy tutorial, and I hope to make more. So if you have any specific topic, specific project you want me to make some tutorials about, feel free to comment in down below as well. And yeah, that's it. I'm going to see you on my next video. Bye bye.